Hello, today I'm here to review Solaris. This is one of the first sci-fi novels I have ever read, and for multiple reasons it might well be my favorite for a long time. This time I'm gonna try something new. I'm just gonna read the commentary that I normally write for the book, as I feel like I normally don't get to say everything I wanted to say, and I want to sort of figure out what's the format that satisfies me the most. So yeah, Stanislaw Solaris. This book solves most of my issues with human attempts to imagine the inhuman. It will be hard to find a sci-fi book that I like more after this. This sci-fi novel, or more appropriately, this fantasy that explores the experience of the human encounter with a non-identical, an alien form of life, a being that in Lyotard's theory could be seen as the archetype of an unrepresentable difference. Situated in the planet Solaris, this form of life occupies nearly its totality in a liquid form and is categorized as metamorph in Solarist's terms. Solarist is a term that refers to scientists who study the planet of Solaris. This alien planet has caused the scientific world of the Earth to go mad, as it seems to be not only altering the orbit of its planet, but showing multiple other signs of extreme intelligence. It is thus cognized as an enormous ocean multiple times bigger than all the oceans of the Earth. The protagonist of the story is Chris Kelvin, a psychologist who travels to Solaris to direct a series of investigations. The story takes place in Solaris' station nearby, where Kelvin and other members of the crew deal with this organism. Solaris is an entity beyond human comprehension, but that does not stop scientists from making multiple theories, and more importantly, it does not stop it from coming in contact with humanity. How does it go about it? Well, only the crew at the station gets to experience it, but basically it dives into the characters' minds while they're asleep and creates corporeal manifestations that are not hallucination, but that are embodied in flesh and bone. The second manifestation that Kelvin experiences is his dead wife, who killed herself in the past because he was absent in the absorption of his work, of his job. This manifestation drives the characters mad, and they do not as they do not understand the ocean, what the ocean is trying, or why is it doing it. It could be completely unaware of them. It could be trying to torture them, or it could be trying to please them by giving them a gift. There is both an aspect of Lovecraftian horror in moments like when they talk about in moments such as when they talk about the 7-meter child that was being manipulated like a puppet by the entity, creating unnatural movements, as well as a tragic story of romantic love. Those are like two narrative parallels that you get throughout the book. I feel like the first one is way more successful than the other. Similarly, there is also constant tension between accepting what the planet is giving to them or trying to fight it or escape. At the end of the book, we finally get to Solaris' land, and after direct interaction with its waters, Kelvin decides to stay. Now, yes, there are issues with the characters, depth and coherence. I was not really sold into the dead wife story and its romanticism, which to me remained a little bit superficial. However, the erratically performed actions and lack of character depth might be excused by the context of delirium and permanent questioning tension in which they are found. Nevertheless, I do not want to talk about that, but about the most interesting aspect of this book, which is precisely what the films have evaded. I have not yet finished Tarkovsky's film because, as all good directors do, they tend to have a skill to make me fall asleep. Solaris is perhaps the first attempt at depicting truly inhuman life, an extraterrestrial entity in the true sense. It is impossible for us humans to abandon the human perspective. It is not possible to transcend our own gaze to make otherness feel whole. Rather, we tend to simplify it. For this reason, I feel like Stanislaw chooses the ocean as an entity, both because its magnitude hints at its complexity, and because the ocean is both the most familiar and alien thing that we humans have the capacity to cognize in real life. I can see how this book might have influenced some of my favorite films, such as The Arrival or the episode of the title The Swarm from Love, Death and Robots. It also reminded me of the infamous essay from Freud, Oceanic Feeling, which is a critic that pretends to diagnose, well, what Freud and psychoanalysis always end up diagnosing, but by criticizing unity and interconnectivity, which are the two tendencies that I tend to read in the natural world. It also made me think of the ocean as the antithesis of complexity in a symbiotic sense. As explained by my favorite popular science book, Symbiotic Planet by Lynn Margulis, this ocean seems to be a single individual rather than a swarm of organisms existing in continuous cooperation, which to me seems less realistic, but that I enjoyed a lot. A great part of the science of the book is entirely invented, but I never had a problem with that. I don't believe that any art has to be scientifically accurate, and its story explained in the chapter of the Solaris was probably what hooked me. However, the reason why I stayed was the philosophical digressions, the ambition to depict the unknown, the organic interaction with strangeness, the critique of scientism and humanism, as well as the embracement of the uncanniness of this unfamiliarity, exposed in the closing chapter by Kelvin's timid hi-fi with the extraterrestrial waves and his choice to stay. There are many good things about this book, but I cannot emphasize enough how much I support the choice of the ocean as a representation of the unrepresentable. And that would be it. I wonder how this format will turn out. I guess not so personal, but probably more profound in its exploration of the text. Maybe I will read a chapter at some point, just like record myself reading one chapter, the Solaris chapter, and upload that afterwards, because I think it's a nice sort of description of the whole book. It sets the grounds for what's going on in it, and I just enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed a lot this book. It's probably one of the books I've enjoyed the most, if not the book that I have enjoyed the most of the last 300 days. Mainly because I don't tend to read that much fiction, and when I do, I tend to go to the more dense texts, and sci-fi always has, which I mean, it's truly just fantasy, but sci-fi and fantasy always, every time I read them, it's like just fresh air. I loved it. I really like this book. And again, there is a strong critique of scientism in here, by our sort of like human bias to see everything always through an anthropocentric lens, and to reduce, therefore simplifying complexity, those entities that are not comprehensive. We also do it with each other, from ethnicity to ethnicity, from with geopolitical happenings, and so on and so forth. But the point is that when you, like, this takes that unrepresentable difference to the extreme, to a point in which it's no longer even simplifiable. It's no longer even, you cannot escape it anymore. It's in your consciousness. It's interacting with you. It's showing you your dead wife. It's a massive mass of water that thinks and that gets in your mind while you sleep. I thought it was like a really nice way to make it impossible to elude, like a complexity that finally goes beyond an order that is just beyond our comprehension, without it being some god or some sort of like it, because a god is already, again, a fiction that we create. It's way more limited than something that we cannot understand. And the choice of the character to just like stay and experience it, I think it's just a really good it's a really good choice of for an ending of this book, and yeah, I think this is definitely one of my favorite books now.